Hi, I'm Anita. Welcome to my channel. We're going to be doing another jewelry tutorial today on how to make this beautiful Sonata bracelet. It's made with 5mm bugle beads. These are in a teal with a silver lining, 4mm fire polish in crystal with an AB finish, and 11/0 galvanized silver seed beads. You're also going to be using 6-pound fireline, and you'll need approximately 4 yards of that. You're also going to need a lobster clasp, a couple of wire guards, a headpin with a little ball at the end, a 3mm bicone crystal. We're going to use that to accent the end of the extender chain. And you're going to need a pair of flat nose pliers and also another pair of chain nose pliers. You'll also need a pair of wire cutters, something with a sharp angle, and you'll need a sharp pair of scissors to cut your fire line. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to start by stringing your 4 yards of fire line onto your number 10 needle. If I failed to mention that, you'll be using a size 10 beading needle. And you're going to be using a stop bead. So a stop bead is just to keep your beads on until you get your project started. I'm just using a little 8/0 bead here. So what you do is you put your bead on your thread, string it down halfway, and then you pass your needle back through and pull, and that secures the stop bead so that your work doesn't fall off until you get started. So make sure you put this halfway down on your thread. We're going to be beading from the center of the bracelet to the outward direction. So here's how you start it. Okay, to begin, you're going to pick up 2 bugle beads, and you're going to bring those down to the end where your stop bead is, like that. Then you're going to pass your needle back through the first bugle bead that we put on. And pull. And you want to pull tight enough so that your 2 bugle beads are right up against each other, like that. So now you're going to advance your needle into this next bugle bead to the right, like that, and pull your thread. Now we're going to pick up another bugle bead, and we're going to place it right next to this one. So with your needle, go into the top of a bugle bead like this. Bring your needle down and pull your thread, and pull gently, and you'll have to pinch this with your fingers to kind of keep it in place as you're first starting. If it's a little loose, you can just pull on your tail thread and the other working thread, and it'll tighten up. Now you're going to advance your needle to the next bugle bead on the outer edge, like that. And pull your thread. If it gets loose, just gently tug on your thread to bring it back together, like that. So we're going to pick up another bugle bead and do the same thing. With your thread coming out this way, you're going to come in the opposite direction, like that. Pull your thread. And push your bugle up against, and then pull, because you don't want to cut your thread. I'm using Fireline, which it's pretty strong. If you're using Nymo thread, which you can use that as well, you want to make sure you wax your Nymo thread, but either one of these will work. So now with my thread coming out here, I'm going to advance my needle to the outer bugle bead, like that, and pull. We're putting a total of 6 bugle beads on this row, so we've got 2 more to go. So pick up another bugle bead, pass your needle through the top on the opposite side of this bugle bead at the end, pull your thread, push your bugle bead, and kind of hold it with your fingers as you're pulling your thread. Now you want to bring your needle up to the outer bugle bead and pass your thread up because that's where we need to be next, and pick up your last bugle bead and repeat the step. And you're going to pull. So that's what it looks like. So that's your first row. Now we're going to be adding the fire polish beads. Now, a word of caution on the bugle beads. You want to make sure that what you're using, they're somewhat consistent in size. Sometimes you might run across a bead that's damaged. Here's an example of one. It's a little bit of a jagged edge on the end here, and it's not as wide as the others. So this is one you're going to toss in the garbage. So just keep an eye out for consistency in your bugle beads to make sure you don't have any damaged ones before you put them on. If you do, just toss them. So that's just one beading tip for you. Okay, so we put our last bugle bead on. I got to make sure my thread is coming out of the far end bugle. So we'll pull that through like that. And our thread is coming out the same direction as our tail thread. So for now, we're going to ignore this side because we're going to work with this half of the thread later. So just leave it there, and you're going to be working for now with the thread that's on your needle. Okay, so we'll go on to the next step. For your next step, you're going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, fire polish, and another 11/0 seed bead, like that. Then you're going to pick up 2 more bugle beads, like that. So you have your 11/0, fire polish 11/0, and 2 bugle beads. You're going to pull that down to your work. Now you're going to bring your needle under the first bugle bead you added, which is this one right here. You're coming from the opposite direction, like that. Pull your thread. Bring your bugle bead close to your work. And if you have a little gap like that in your thread, just get your needle under the bridge, the thread bridge, and pull up to bring the work closer together like that, and pull. And that will bring it flush to your bead. Now we're going to advance the needle to the next bugle, like that. Pull your thread. And we're going to add 4 more bugle beads here. So one at a time, pick up your next bugle bead. Bring that through the opposite direction. Pull your thread. Now you need to advance the needle to the outer edge. Grab your next bugle. Go in through the opposite end. Pull your thread. Advance your needle to the outer edge again, and you'll have to do that each time you add a bugle bead. Grab another bugle bead. I'm thinking of fire polish right now. Okay, so pull your thread. Advance your needle to the outer bugle right here. And we're adding our 6th bugle bead. Like that. Pull. Advance your needle to the outer edge again. Now we're ready for the next step. So now we're going to join these two by putting an 11/0 on your needle, a fire polish, and another 11/0, like that. Now your thread's coming out of the end of this bugle bead here. You're going to advance your needle into this end bugle on the other side, like that. And it's kind of awkward at first. Just kind of hold it gently between your fingers as best you can. The first couple of rows are usually a challenge, but once you get past that, it gets easier. So that's what it looks like so far. It's going to be a little loose for now, but don't worry about that. Now you're going to advance your needle to the next bugle bead, like that. Pull your thread. Now you're going to pick up one 11-0, and you're going to place your needle into the fire polish bead. You're skipping the 11-0, so you're going into the fire polish just like that. Pull your needle through. And that's positioning two 11-0s at the base of the fire polish, like that. So now we need to do the same thing on this end. So pick up another, place your needle in the second bugle bead in this direction, like that. Pull your thread. Now advance your needle to the next bugle bead on the left side of your thread. That's the third bead in from the right. So advance your needle that way. You're going to pick up another 11-0, another fire polish, and another 11-0. And you're going to bring your needle to the opposite bugle on the other side. Make sure you're going in the same count. This is the third bead from the end. Pull your thread through, like that. Now you need to advance to your left one bugle bead, like that, with your needle. And we need to pick up one 11-0, go in through the fire polish bead, just the fire polish. Pull your thread. Pick up another 11-0, go through your next bugle. This is the fourth one from the right. Pull your thread. Now advance your needle one more bugle to the left, second one from the left. Pick up another 11-0, and you're going to place this 11-0 in the fire polish on your far left, like that. And pull. Pick up one more 11-0, come down through that second to the last bugle bead, advance your needle, come through. So that's what you have so far. Okay, so with our thread coming out of this next to the last bugle bead, we need to advance our needle to the far outside bugle. And we're going to be passing our needle through all of the beads on the far left side. So you want to make sure you've got the fire polish, the two 11-0s on your needle. And you can tell you've got your needle through all of them. Make sure you don't leave any gaps. So pass your needle back through the bugle 11-0, fire polish 11-0, and the bugle. We're setting it up to go on to the next step. So now we're going to be adding rows. And we're going to be adding rows this direction until we have about 10 inches of thread left or so, or approximately halfway through the bracelet. So from here we're going to repeat the steps we did on this side. So I'll do one more with you and then I'll send you off on your way. So we're going to pick up an 11-0, a fire polish, an 11-0, and two bugles, like that. Bring your work down. Now you're going to hold your work so that you can hang on to this bugle without losing too much tension on your thread, and you're going to advance your needle on the bottom side of this bugle in this direction, like that. Pull your thread and pull. And if you have a gap like that, just get your needle under the thread bridge, pull up to bring your work down, and then pull. You don't want to force pulling your thread if you have a large gap, because you're going to cut your thread. So just be real careful with that. Now you're going to advance your needle to the next bugle bead, like that. And we're going to continue adding bugles until we have 6 total on this row. So the sequence is you're adding the fire polish, 6 bugles, then you're adding your seed bead fire polish, seed bead, and then you're working your way back to fill in the gaps. So this step we're adding the bugles. It's just a basic ladder stitch, very easy to do. Get your needle to the outer edge, pick up another bugle, and place your needle on the opposite side of the thread direction and pull. Advance to the outer edge again, add another bugle, and repeat. Go to the outer edge, pick up your last bugle, pull your thread, and get to the outer edge again. That completes the row of bugles. Now we're going to add a seed bead, fire polish, and a seed bead. We're coming out of this end bugle bead, we're going into the one across, just the bugle bead, like that. Pull your thread. Now advance your needle to the bugle bead on the left of the one we just came out of, like that. Pull your thread. Pick up 1/11-0, go into the fire polish bead, just the fire polish bead. Pull your thread, pick up another 11-0, go in through the next bugle right here, pull your thread. Now advance your needle to the next bugle, one left over to the left. Pull your thread. Now you're going to pick up a 11-0, a fire polish, and an 11-0. And you're going into the bugle bead, the third one from the end, directly opposite, like that. Now advance your needle to the next bugle over, and you're going to pick up another seed bead, put that into your fire polish like that, pick up another seed bead, go into the bugle, third one from the right. Now advance your needle to the second from the right bugle, like that. Pick up another 11-0, go through the fire polish, Pick up another 11/0 and go through the bugle, second bugle from the end. Pull your thread. Now we need to advance our needle because we're coming out one bugle from the left. Advance your needle into the last bugle, seed bead, fire polish, seed bead, and bugle, like that. That sets us up for the next step. So that's what we have so far. So I'm going to send you off to do a few more rows. I'm guessing you want to do enough rows till you have about, maybe that length. You want to have at least 10 inches of thread left on your needle. And then I'll meet you back. So what we're going to do at that point, after you get these last components added, we're going to do one end of the clasp. So complete the rows. If you need to rewind this video to review, go ahead and do that. But you're starting out by adding the seed bead, fire polish, seed bead, and 2 bugles. Then you're going to advance your needle into the opposite side of the first bugle that's just on the other side of the seed bead. And then you just repeat the pattern as I showed you. And I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Here's what I have so far. So you're coming out with your thread with the last row completed. And this is about half of the bracelet done. We've got about, almost 3 inches. So at this point, I only have like about 10 inches or so of thread left on my needle on this end. So once you reach that point, we're going to add one end of the clasp. So in this particular tutorial, I'm using a wire guard for the end because I'm going to be putting a O-ring and my lobster clasp on one end. So take your needle, pick up 3 11/0 seed beads. Coming out of this far end bugle, you're going to go into the next bugle bead like that. Now advance to the next bugle bead, which is the third one from the left, like that. Pick up 3 11/0s, a fire polish, one 11/0, and your wire guard. Bring that down to your work. And that's what you should have. So now bring your needle around the wire guard to the other side. Pass your needle through the other end and make sure your thread is going into the channel of the wire guard, like that. Now pick up another 11/0. Go through the fire polish. Pick up 3 11/0s and go through the bugle to the right of the one you just came out of, like that. We're going to reinforce this by passing the needle back through the bugle to the left of where your thread is coming out of. So you're going to go through the bugle and through the seed beads, and we're also going to advance through the fire polish, through the 11/0, and through the wire guard on the left hand side. Now pass your thread back through the other side of the wire guard and also through the 11-0, like that. Make sure your thread falls into the channel. Now come down the Firepolish bead and the 3 11-0s on the right hand side. And the bugle bead just below that, like that. Pull your thread. Now come back up through the next bugle bead, like that. Pick up 3 more 11-0s and pass your needle down the outside bugle, like that. So you have a little picot on each side of where your clasp is going to be. So now tie a half hitch knot right here. We're going to be cutting this thread after we weave it in through a few beads. So do a half hitch knot like that. Bring your needle through the next bugle. And then down the next bugle, you're just going to zigzag. Tie another half hitch knot here by going under a thread bridge and then pass your needle back through the loop like that. Pull, advance your needle to the next bugle, and then down the next bugle. Like that. Now I'm going to clip this thread. Just barely had enough there. So clip the thread as close as you can to your work. That's that right side. We're going to be continuing this side with the tail end thread here in just a moment. First, I'm going to go ahead and add this clasp to go ahead and get that done. So take your jump ring. This is a 6mm jump ring. And you're going to open it by twisting it towards you like that. Now pass your wire guard through the O-ring, and you can put your lobster clasp on while you're at it, and then close the jump ring like that. So that completes one side of your bracelet. So now we're going to continue on the other side. So first remove your stop bead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thread this end onto my needle. So what I'm going to do is flatten the end of this to make it a little easier with my flat nose. Then pinch the thread between my fingers and position it so that it's right over the eye. And then pull with your finger, and it just makes it a lot easier. So now we're going to take the stop bead off, and the easiest way to do that is just bring your needle through the opposite direction, like that. And then through the opposite direction again. So there, we have taken the stop bead off. Just set that aside, we don't need it anymore. And now what we need to do is we need to advance our thread so that it's coming out of the correct side. So right now you're coming out of this bottom bugle right here. We need to advance the needle so you're coming out of the far end. So we're just going to come up, down, and up. So just zigzag with your needle to position your thread so that it's coming out in the correct direction. So just follow the thread path. We're zigzagging up and down. And now we're going to have our thread set up where it needs to be to continue the pattern. Like that. So now I'm going to send you off on your own again, and you're going to repeat the same pattern as you did in this direction, but going this way. So I'll just show you the beginning. You're picking up an 11/0 seed bead, a fire polish, an 11/0, and 2 bugles. Like that. Now you're going to pass your needle back through the bugle on the opposite side, the first bugle, pull your thread, and remember, if you get that gap like that, get your needle under the thread bridge, pull up, that brings your work closer, pinch with your fingers, hold it, and pull your thread, and that will get you back down. So continue adding your bugle beads, your 15 millimeter, your 11 millimeter 11/0s, your fire polish, and go back in that direction. And you want to continue until you have this at the length that you want for your bracelet. So for the length I'm doing, I'm going to be making it about 5 inches, 5.5 inches. With this clasp, I've got an extra inch that it's going to add to the length. And my extender chain will give me more flexibility if I need it for a larger wrist. So go ahead and continue with the steps. If you need to rewind to refresh yourself, please do so, and I'll meet you back. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to add the other end of the clasp or the extender chain. Coming out of this bugle bead next to the last here, I'm advancing my needle. This was where we left off. Advance the needle through all of those beads like that to get to the end. Pull your thread. Now we're going to add 3 seed beads coming out of this bugle, going into the next bugle. Advance your needle to the third bugle, like that. You're going to pick up 3 11/0s, your fire polish, 1 11/0, your wire guard. Bring that down to your work. Now bring your thread to the other side of the wire guard and pull your thread, making sure that falls in the channel. Now pick up an 11/0, go through the fire polish, now pick up 3 more 11/0s and go down through the next bugle bead. That would be the third from the right, like that. Now we're going to reinforce. So pass your needle into the bugle to the left of where your thread's coming out, and also advance through the 3 seed beads like that. And advance your needle through the fire polish, the 11/0, and the wire guard. Pull your thread. Now come down the other side of the wire guard, Go through that and the 11/0 seed bead, pull your thread, making sure that falls in the channel like that. Pass your needle back through the fire polish and back through the 3 seed beads on the right and the bugle bead like that. Go ahead and tie a half hitch knot by grabbing a thread bridge like that. Bring your needle through, pass your needle through the loop and pull, bringing that knot close to your work. Now you're just going to advance your needle through a few beads. I'm just going to bring it down through the 11/0, the fire polish, the next 11/0 and bugle. Do another half hitch knot here. And advance your needle through the next bugle. It really doesn't matter what direction you want to go at this point. Just weave your thread in after you've done a couple of half hitch knots, and then you can cut your thread off. So now all we have to do is add our extender chain, and then we'll do a little dangle for the end, and I'll show you how to do that next. Okay, using your flat nose pliers, grab your O-ring and open that up with your other chain nose by pulling towards you like that. Then place that on your wire guard, and then grab your extender chain and place the end into the O-ring. And now you can close that. Make sure there's no gaps, like that. So now we're going to add a little dangle on the end of the chain just to give it an extra decoration. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a wire wrap with this headpin. This is about 1 inch long. You can go inch or inch and a half. And using a pair of flat nose pliers and chain nose pliers, first I'm going to take this pin and put it through my 3mm crystal, like that. Take your flat nose pliers and hold that just barely over the edge, so you have a little bit of a gap between where we're going to do the wire wrap and where your bead is. And I'm just going to push the wire towards the table like that, so it's a 90-degree angle. So now using my chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, you're going to place your pliers on top of your 90-degree angle like that. Pull your wire towards you and then wrap it down around the plier towards the table. Twist your plier facing the table. Push your wire towards the table like that. So that's what it should look like. Now you want to open that opening just a little bit because we need to get that onto the chain. So take your end of your extender chain like this, pass it through that loop. Now with your left hand, if you're right-handed, this is how I do it. Going to take another pair of pliers to hold that steady. So I like to use my wire crimpers. So basically I will hold that like that. So I've got a good grip, and make sure my wire is up so it clears the pliers when I'm wrapping it. So now I'm going to take my other chain nose pliers and I'm going to wrap the wire around like that. Try to get it at least a couple of times, maybe 3, but be careful that you don't get too close to your crystal. You don't want to crack it. So that should be sufficient. That's about 3 loops. So now that I have that wrapped, I'm going to clip this piece that's sticking out with my wire cutters, getting as close as I can. And now what you want to do is make sure that rough edge is flattened, because you don't want that to get snagged on people's clothing. So I use my crimpers and position it so that I can squish down that sharp edge. Be careful not to crunch your crystal. And I'm just running my finger over it to make sure there's no rough edges sticking out. So that looks pretty good. So that's how you add a dangle to the end of your chain. It just gives it a nice finished look. So there is your Sonata bracelet with a beautiful extender chain. And I want to thank you for joining me today. So if you're interested in purchasing this, I will have it available on my website soon. Currently, I'm at a stall with my website adding items. We have technicality issues, so they're working on that. I'm hopeful that next week they will get the problem solved. For now, you can just enjoy it on the tutorial. So I will be adding it soon, just as soon as I fix my software bug, whatever the problem is. So I want to thank you for watching and hope that you subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up. If you subscribe, there's a notification bell. If you press that, that will let you know when I'm uploading any new videos. I also have a website where I sell my jewelry. You'll see that in the description box, and I'll also have that listed on my ending screen. And if you would like to know what's needed for this project, I have a list of materials that gives you detailed amounts on what you need to make this bracelet. Super easy. It doesn't take long. You can do this in an afternoon and make it for yourself or give it away as a gift for one of your loved ones. So thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful week, and happy beading.